Welcome back to the Go to Go podcast, man. Episode 66, week 12 of the NFL season. About to kick off in 2 days, man. Thanksgiving week, man. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I remember last year we were chopping it up about your favorite Thanksgiving dishes. I think sides. You're talking about the collard greens, bro. You excited? What are you most excited for right now, fam?
Yeah, that's pretty. It's not gonna change in a year. Collard greens is definitely still my favorite, but I'm just excited to be eating good. Really, that's it, bro.
Facts, man. Can't complain, man. Thanksgiving, man. Hope everybody has a good week. Thanksgiving football got 3 games, and then Black Friday, man. NFL money grab, like to call it, man. Throwing in that Black Friday first game ever. That's going to be Dolphins, Jets. We'll get into that a little bit later. Good slate of games. I think all the buys have now finally completed. So we got every team in the NFL competing this week, man. Quickly recapping last week, we both went 10-4. You're sitting at 102-60 on the year. I'm sitting at 94-68. 8-game difference still holds, man. We're going to kick off episode 66, man. Another segment, hot or not, man. You want to go ahead and go first this week?
Yeah, I'll start it off. All right. Like we always do, keeping it in the AFC North. Hot or not, the Ravens are the best team in the AFC right now.
I'm going to go ahead and say that's a hot take, man. Ravens definitely think, they're holding that number 1 seed right now after that Chiefs loss, which we'll get into against the Eagles, man. But I think to discredit Pat Mahomes and that team right now, I know they got their struggles and whatnot, but say the Ravens are the clear-cut, best number 1 team. In 2 weeks, who knows if that's the same question. It's the NFL, man. It's week to week, handle business. Chiefs, I think, what are they, 7? They're 6 or 7 wins right now in the year. Regardless of the fact, man, seeing the Ravens play the Browns twice this year, the epic meltdown in the second half that the Ravens had. I mean, a good team, you're up 2 scores, double digits, can't hold on to the game. I've seen some great things from them. That defensive meltdown for being one of the best defenses in the NFL. If you're up, 2 scores in the NFL, your defense should be able to hold, especially in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's not like they were up 2 scores starting the third or, the Browns started chipping away, but it was all in the fourth quarter up double digits. Want to see a little bit more consistency from them before I call them the best team. I mean, obviously they're up there. They're competing Super Bowl contenders for sure, no doubt. I just want to see them get over that hump, and we really haven't seen, playoff Lamar since maybe his rookie year he played a playoff game or second year. This is the only time he's, playoff Lamar in that whole, agenda scenario, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. But I'm gonna say that's a hot take.
All right, moving on. The Lions are a true contender in the NFC.
Now, that's not a hot take. The Lions played a little bit ugly game this week. Jared Goff turning the ball over, very uncharacteristic of him. Takes care of the football, keeps it short, doesn't do too much. Game manager he's known as, but being able to still come out with the win-loss record is the only thing that's looked at the end of the season, man. No one cares if the Chiefs, like they did on Monday night, they dropped that pass. They still got a loss in the loss column. It does not matter. You got to win in the win column in an NFL game. Each week, no matter the opponent, tough matchups you have to deal with. So the fact that they went out, battled adversity, kind of showed me a little bit more of this team than just, kind of steamrolling. Not sure who they played. The
Lions played the Bears.
The Bears. Justin Fields came back, was looking great. He was running around the pocket, mobile quarterback. He did his thing, man, but to say they're not a Super Bowl contender at this point in the season, I think it's a little bit crazy. The running back duo they have with Montgomery and Gibbs when they're healthy. Amon-Ra's a top 10 receiver in this league. Sam Laporta, the rookie tight end. That defense does have some question marks, but Aiden Hutchinson coming onto the scene, playing well this year. You got to put him in that Super Bowl NFC championship conversation at this point in the season.
All right, and the last one is how or not Brock Purdy deserves to be in the MVP combo.
I'm kind of fringe on this one, man. I'm going to say it's not a hot take because I think, maybe you should have that conversation. Is he top 3? If you want to throw him, maybe top 5, borderline, he should be in that conversation. He's had, missed some time. Really hasn't had too many ugly games other than that 2-3 game stretch that happened, starting with the Browns week. But last week, him and Ayuk were on the same page. Credit to, Shanahan, the system, whatever you want to do. You still have to have a quarterback that goes out there and executes. Brock Purdy does that. Sometimes I do think he's discredited just a little too much. And then there's some that, overcredit him as well. But I do think he should be in that conversation. Now, do I think he's at the forefront of that conversation? No. But I do think he deserves to be in the conversation.
All right. That was it.
All right, man. Kicking it off. Keeping it in the AFC North just like you did for me. Hot or not, the Steelers will look for a quarterback in the offseason.
That's not a hot take. Now, will it happen? I don't know because you still have Kenny Pickett on that rookie contract. And as bad as he has been so far this season and the beginning of his rookie year, the most valuable thing a team can have is that quarterback on a rookie contract. So there is still some value, although it might not be much for Kenny Pickett. Him being on that rookie contract is super, super valuable. But in terms of what you're seeing on the field, the play from Kenny Pickett, there's just really zero upside at this point, man. They fired Matt Canada, so hopefully we see some change, we see some progress. But, when it comes down to it, like Mike Tomlin said it best, man, you got to score touchdowns, you got to win games. And they've been winning games, but they haven't been scoring touchdowns. I believe they've been outgained in every single game they've played this year. Every single game they've won. It's just, now that Matt Canada's gone, you want to see some changes, man. They don't target the middle of the field. Is that because of Matt Canada's play calling? Yeah, maybe, but it could also be Kenny Pickett's, processing, reading, his arm talent. Is he able to, hit those tight windows across the middle of the field, or does he feel more comfortable throwing to the sidelines where, okay, maybe if my receiver doesn't catch it, it goes out of bounds. It's a safer throw towards the outside near the sidelines. So, if you're a Steelers fan, I really don't know how you're okay with watching Kenny Pickett play quarterback. I definitely think it is time to move on. Maybe, if a miracle run happens, at the end of this season, Matt Canada really was the answer in terms of not being able to move the ball offensively. And, Kenny Pickett just goes on a heater, no more picks. He finally scores touchdowns. I don't know. I saw some stat. It was like Tommy DeVito already has more multiple touchdown passing
I think it's
games.
3 touchdown games.
Yeah. Than Kenny Pickett, who only has 2 in his entire career. So, yeah, this guy's passing him left and right in terms of throwing touchdowns and yardage. So, you really want to see that improve for Kenny Pickett. So, like I said, unless there's something crazy, the new play caller just unlocks a Kenny Pickett that none of us have seen yet, then maybe you look to stick with him going into next season. But ultimately, I think you do try to get a new quarterback. But it's unfortunate because the Steelers they keep winning, bro. I don't know how they're going to get a new quarterback or who their new QB is going to be. They're not going to be in position to draft one. Now, do you go out, spend money and get a quarterback? The Steelers really haven't, ever done that in their franchise. They're more of a, draft a guy and stick with him. So it'll be interesting to see if, the team goes in that direction, tries to spend some money or trade for a quarterback. Not really too sure who they get. There'll be some names out there on the market, but ultimately, I think they end up sticking with him just because he's a rookie and because of, their positioning in the draft. It's just, I don't really know which way you go, but should they stick with him? If they could move off of Kenny Pickett, I believe they definitely would, but I just think there's too many, question marks in the situation they're in right now, whereas their team is good enough to, just stay afloat and win games, but they're not good enough to, or Kenny Pickett isn't good enough to put him over the hump. So I think he's doing just enough to keep his job. But I really don't know what other direction they would go in terms of getting a quarterback. So that's like I say this, that's like a warm take, like a lukewarm take. Like, yeah, they should move off of Kenny Pickett, but like how? I don't know. Like, what's the answer there? Not too sure, but they're kind of like stuck in limbo.
It's a room temperature take.
Yeah.
But I had two things. I mean, the first, I think Kenny Pickett playing well towards the end of the season might be the worst case scenario if you're a Steelers fan, because then you kind of buy into next season.
That's what happened last year.
Yeah, buy into next season, and then you don't see quite the same Kenny Pickett you saw second half of this season, and you kind of back to square one like you were, this year. And then the fact of when they did draft Kenny Pickett, they were also drafting, later in the first round, because their defense was able to hold up their end. Same situation, man. It's like you don't have a top 10 pick. What value do you have? Would you trade your cornerstone piece in TJ Watt for a possibility of either acquiring a quarterback in a trade or trading up into, the top 3 or whatever it is if the Bears still hold that number 1 overall pick?
You can't move. I don't think there's a quarterback like available or good enough to move off of for TJ Watt. Like what he means to that team and how good he is, like defense, like he's one of the main reasons.
I'm not saying
defensive.
They exactly. I'm just I'm
saying like, I mean, to move off of TJ Watt, I'm gonna need like
Williams declares.
I mean, he's going to, but I'm saying like, I'm not trading TJ Watt for like a question mark, you feel me, like a draft pick, because I mean you drafted Kenny Pickett and you see what's happening. Like if I'm trading TJ Watt, I need like a bona fide like elite someone that can move the needle on offense. I'm not just moving a cornerstone elite defensive player like that for, even if it is Drake May, Caleb Williams, these really young talented guys coming out of the draft, or a middle of the pack quarterback like the Broncos, they might try to move off of Russ. He's playing decent. Do you get value out of him? Kirk Cousins, if he resigns, we don't know what's going on there. He might be a free agent. Is that someone you look to? Like, it's just hard because, like you mentioned, like they're in limbo. Like you mentioned last season, Kenny Pickett had a couple nice games down the stretch. They beat the Raiders at home. I think they beat the Ravens as well without Lamar. Kind of got the hype building for Kenny Pickett. Put on a really nice preseason. Everyone thinks, Kenny Pickett's the answer. And then you see what happened during this regular season. So the Steelers are just in a really tough place. And I think Kenny Pickett being on that rookie contract is kind of just enough to push the needle for them to just stay with him. Don't sign the 5th-year option. And if, you don't continue to not like what you see, at that point, then you move on when you have to and you have no other choice. So I think they just stick with him for right now.
I forgot about those Kenny Pickett preseason allegations, man. I forgot people would be best passer rating or whatever it was in the preseason.
Yeah, I was a believer.
Look out it.
Well, not a believer, but I thought it was gonna be better than this. Yeah. I thought it'd be better than this.
I think I saw a little clip today of all his throws past the sticks against the Browns, and I think it was only 5 passes, and 2 of them were throwaways.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe 1 was completed. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't even. But, I mean, the Steelers, 2 games, I'm not even sure. In game 1, they played the Browns. They didn't play. They didn't get past the 50-yard line. The George Pickens, touchdown. Deep post, housed it. Touchdown, this week against the Browns, Jalen Warren's 70-something yard tutty. And then I will say Matt Canada was bad for putting Najee in right after that, the next drive, and just saying, hey, Najee, we're going to hand you the football, not Jalen Warren, who's got 9 carries for 100 and some yards, which he finished with. Moving on, man. Enough of the Steelers.
Yes.
Hot or not, after the firing of Ken Dorsey, the Bills' offense is back.
I'm going to say that's a hot take just because I don't really think their offense went anywhere. This is the Bills team we've always known. Like, Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over. They're going to put up points and they're going to, move the ball, and they beat up on bad teams. Like, it's the Jets. Now, I know week 1 the Jets beat them, but it took, a punt return, Rodgers going out with the injury. They were expecting to play, all that went down on week 1. It was crazy. Now, coming off of a bad loss on primetime to the Denver Broncos, you go and play the Jets at home. Zach Wilson gets demoted to third-string quarterback. Tim Boyle, who's thrown more interceptions every single place he's ever played football than touchdowns, is now going to be like the backup. It's a crazy.
He's a starter.
Oh, yeah, he's starting, yeah. So
Trevor Siemian's the backup.
Yeah. That Tim Boyle side is crazy. I think it was UConn or whatever. He had like 3 touchdowns and 11 picks or something like that. Crazy. And then he went to, I want to say Western Kentucky or somewhere like that, and then threw like a bunch more picks as well. So this guy just turns the ball over. So it'll be interesting. But back to the Bills, this is the Bills team. Like, they took a lot of hits on defense, but offensively, if Josh Allen can protect the football, they're going to have opportunities to, score and be a good team. Now, would you like to see him run the ball more, get James Cook going? Yeah, you would like to see that, but I want to say the offense is back because this is kind of, what we always seen for the Bills offense. You see the shots down the field. It wasn't Diggs. It was Shakir this week. He had a couple nice deep catches, got into the end zone. So, Josh Allen hitting deep ball, that's what he does. They like those big plays. Kincaid getting involved around the sticks. That's how they play football. So I wouldn't say the Bills offense is back. I would say this is kind of, what the Bills offense has always been with Josh Allen. They're going to take big shots, and if he protects the ball, they're always going to have a chance to win. So protected the ball against a good Jets defense, able to put up some points, and, it definitely helps when you have just an offense that can't move the ball on the other side of the field.
Yeah, so, in pros, Tim Boyle, I had to go for reference. He threw 3 touchdowns, 6 picks. I think that was with the Lions. The only real chance he had, I think he had like 80 pass attempts. Other than that, it was like 10 or less. At UConn, in his 3 years at UConn, he was averaging 4.7 yards an attempt. So it just goes to show you. And in all 3 years, he threw for 1 touchdown and 13 interceptions.
Yeah.
Moving on, man. My last hot or not. Chiefs, Eagles will match up in the Super Bowl once again.
That's not a hot take. After watching the game, last night, it wasn't in a neutral site. Chiefs were at home. Both teams kind of showed some deficiencies or weaknesses, but both teams also showed some strengths and showed why they were the 2 teams with the best record in the league at the time. And I personally think are still the 2 top teams in the league. We'll get into it, but quickly right now, you saw the Chiefs really kind of dominate defensively on the line of scrimmage. Their corners and secondaries, they were flying all over the field. Defensively, the Chiefs, they look legit. Eagles, on the other hand, offensively in the second half, they got it going, and, it just comes down to when you need big plays to be made, Jalen Hurts is going to find them. He's going to make that throw. And you kind of just saw the level of talent separation in terms of, when you need to make a big play. Jalen Hurts went to our number 2 receiver right now because A.J. Brown was, not that involved. Our number 2 receiver, Devontae Smith, who's really a number 1. You put him on that Chiefs offense, well, he's, by far the best player on that field, skill position-wise, offensively in that receiver room. But he went down, made that big catch, got us down to the 1-yard line. And then on the other side of the field, Mahomes hits MVS right in the hands, and he drops it. It just came down to execution. So the Eagles, pretty much how they've been the entire season, man. When they needed the most, when they got to make the plays, they got to step up. You see the execution. And then the Chiefs, defensively and offensively, I think they played really good games in the trenches. I think they had the most rushing yards on the Eagles since, I believe, week 1 of last year. Eagles are only allowing 66 rushing yards per game. The Chiefs had a lot of success especially with those little outside runs to Pacheco, who just runs like a madman. So two teams, I think, showing a lot of strengths while they are some of the best teams in the league. Mahomes played really, really well. Also, he had a couple crazy throws. His little scramble, the way he's just able to buy time in the pocket and just throw guys open and find open receivers, it is literally second to none. Like, I've never seen anyone be able to do it like him. So as long as Mahomes is back there running around, the Chiefs have a chance. And then on the Eagles side, defensively stepped up in the second half, 0 points. And Jalen Hurts in that offense, whenever you need a big play, they always seem to step up and they seem to execute when it matters the most. So I think you can easily see this matchup again in the Super Bowl in February. Two of what I think are the best teams right now who just played, and they could honestly match up again. And I think it'd be just as even. Who knows? I think either team could win that matchup again as well. I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite in this matchup. So, yeah, that's not a hot take. You could definitely see it happening again.
No doubt, man. It's going to wrap up our Week 12 hot or not. It's going to move us onto our Week 12 pick'ems. I do also want to say Jalen Hurts just had to underthrow him just so he could get that rushing touchdown. Devontae Smith, anytime touchdown. Not going to say if I dibbled or dabbled on that one, but I was a little mad about that underthrow. But a good adjustment by Smitty, and he definitely would be light years ahead of any Chiefs receiver on that roster. Thursday, 12:30 football, man. Thanksgiving morning, afternoon, morning for me. Pack Lions, man, in Detroit, of course. This one, Pack coming off, a huge game from Jordan Love. Great team win. I think Christian Watson caught one in the end zone. Jaden Reed.
Yeah, Jaden Reed.
Solid game from him as well. Yeah. Receiving court coming around. Romeo Doubs has been a consistent red zone target, especially with the injury to Luke Musgrave. They came around, fought a great team win from the Pack against that Brandon Staley Chargers team, which I think that whole organization should be in shambles right now. But like I said, man, Lions best in the NFC, divisional matchup, Thanksgiving. It's not many times on Thanksgiving where you sit here and you confidently pick the Lions. I think times changed in Detroit, man. I mean, at this point, you got to give me the Lions at home. Thanksgiving, it's in the script. I think the Packers just a little bit outmatched. I like the way Jordan Love played last week. Let's see if we can see some consistency from him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. The Lions, they're one of the contenders in the NFC for sure. Had a shaky game last week against the Bears. Justin Fields in that offense gave them a little bit of trouble, but I mean, to come back the way they did in that fourth quarter to get that win just shows the resiliency. And good teams find ways to win. I've been saying that all year about the Eagles, and the Lions proving it with them being a good team and even at home scraping out a win, finding a way to win at the end of the game against the Bears. But I'm with you, man. Packers, Jordan Love finally showed some promise. That receiving core finally getting it going. Love slinging the ball. I believe he had 300-plus passing yards. So you really like to see that. But then again, we got to put it in context. They were playing, Brandon Staley and the Chargers, who every single week we come on. And every single week, what do we say? They find a way to lose. So like you mentioned, I want to see more consistency. I know I was a little higher on the Packers than you were, so I want to jump on this. A great game, but I want to see it again. I want to see more consistency. I want to see them playing, a team that isn't coached by Brandon Staley and isn't allowing, the most passing yards in the league right now. So I'm going to take the Lions as well. Although their defense has been a little bit questionable. They've been, if Aiden Hutchinson isn't getting home, they've been able to, give up a couple plays here too in the back end. But ultimately, I just think they're too talented. Like you said earlier, that run game, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Goff, if he doesn't go back to his Rams ways and protects the football, I think they'll be fine. So I think the Lions at home, they keep rolling and they get a win.
I think it's becoming worse and worse for Staley. I mean, that game was...
And then the press conference didn't make it any better.
Yeah. That was
doubling down.
Insane. Yeah, I mean, why not? Moving on. America's team, of course, on America's Day, Commanders, Cowboys, take that Thanksgiving dinner slot. well, if you're on the East Coast, the Thanksgiving dinner slot. Commanders, Cowboys, obviously in Jerry's world. The Commanders, I say it, man. Sam Howell, I mean, he's a trooper. He can ball some way, a little bit of Josh Allen-esque, turnover prone, but he's
Allen.
He's gonna air it out. I mean, you've been higher on the Commanders a little bit. I mean, I think they're right where they are. The Cowboys, I think they take care of business. Maybe Micah Parsons doesn't dry scoop two scoops of C4 before the game. Cowboys win at home.
Yeah, divisional matchup. So I think the Commanders will keep it interesting for a little bit, but Cowboys at home, Dak Prescott in that dome is, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And when they're playing with a lead, he's even better. And this Cowboys defense, I'm sure, will be all over the Commanders, Sam Howell, he'll throw the ball a lot. Now, will there be a lot of completions? Will there be a lot of touchdowns and yards? Maybe, but it'll also probably be a lot of turnovers and a lot of plays, kind of like we saw losing to the Giants with DeVito being the quarterback. Not a great look. This offensive line has not protected Sam Howell whatsoever, and the Cowboys have been one of the best teams in terms of getting pressure and getting to the quarterback. So, Bieniemy's going to dial up those pass plays, so Sam Howell's going to be standing in the pocket, taking those hits. So it might not be, the most fun game for Sam Howell, but I think it'll be interesting for a little bit. But I do think the Cowboys ultimately pull away and get a much-needed division win.
It's going to move us to the night slot, man. 49ers, Seahawks. Primetime 12th man in Seattle. I think it's going to be a really good matchup, man. I think, on paper, this is probably the best matchup you could have. The Seahawks unable, to get the dub last week against, I think, the Rams. That game came down to the very, very last second. Regardless of the fact, man, we talk about it every week. What type of team are the Seahawks? The inconsistencies we see from them. One week, they look like Geno Smith last year. He looked like he did. Kenneth Gainwell, he's up in question whether he's playing or not this week
Kenneth
as well.
Walker.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, not Gainwell. Kenneth Walker. Regardless, I mean, I like the Seahawks. The receiving core is nice. This Niners team, we just talked about Brock Purdy being in that MVP conversation. The defense is looking elite. Chase Young, he's, looking like a solid addition they got over there from Washington. And then not even to mention the rest of the defense that we already have in the past. So there's really no need to get into it. Receiving core is looking great over there in San Fran. Purdy, big game last week. I think they keep it high. I think they keep it rolling, and a big win on the road against the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the 49ers make a couple big plays defensively, and I just don't think the Seahawks have the firepower to hang with the 49ers offensively. So I think it's another, one of those games where Brock Purdy doesn't have to do too much, does just enough. Playmakers get involved, a couple big plays here and there. CMC will probably score a touchdown, and I think they get a comfortable win against the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. CMC didn't score, I think the Niners
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Against
so
the Jags, yeah.
He's trying to kick back up that streak he had going. Next game up, man, Black Friday football, 3 o'clock Eastern, man. Odd time, whatever, NFL. Dolphins travel to MetLife. They played the Jets, and you said that Tim Boyle's throwing more career picks. And that Dolphins defense finally looks like it's coming around, the team that they expected. New system, new pieces around, and Jalen Ramsey, and he's come right onto the scene. But he's, since returning from his injury, he's looked almost just like Jalen Ramsey did last year, if not better. I mean, the acrobatic picks he had last week, I know it's Aiden O'Connell, but to make a play on that ball, the first one diving across the middle of the field, and then the last one going to the back of the end zone on a deep ball. I mean, he's got better hands than MVS at that point. But, I mean, Jalen Phillips, huge day, 2 sacks, pick. That defense looks like it's coming around. And then you still got X on the other side. I think it was the first game we had X, Ramsey, Teron Armstead, A-Chain all on the field at once. So A-Chain did get hurt again. Regardless of the fact the Dolphins getting healthy, they're starting to come together and play some good football.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it. I'm not gonna say much. Yeah, give me the Dolphins. I mean, this is Tyreek Hill's chose the Dolphins over the Jets for a reason. Pretty much all I gotta say.
Think it was because of those taxes?
No, it's because he will be throwing him the football. Zach Wilson or Tua.
Oh man, it's gonna lead us to our first Sunday game, man. Back to the regular schedule. Saints Falcons, man, divisional matchup in a division where 3 teams fighting for a playoff spot, and the Falcons are right there in it, along with the Saints and the Bucks as well. I think the Saints, man, I'm not sure who's going to be starting at quarterback. I think is it going to be Jameis? I think it probably will, but I like watching the Saints with Jameis, man. It makes it a little bit entertaining. You know he's going to sling the ball across the field like he did when he played, I think 2 weeks ago, where he threw a cross-field touchdown that no quarterback would ever think to make. And somehow it worked. It was a bad play, but you know what you're getting with Jameis, man. He's a cheap Josh Allen version. I mean, 30 touchdowns, 30 picks.
Josh Allen before Josh Allen.
Yeah, literally. It's fun to watch, man. That Saints team, Kamara, Chris Olave finally getting involved in that offense as well. You know that defense to be solid. Against this Falcons team, I think they did say Desmond Ridder is now the starter once again. I think he gets his second career professional loss at home this week.
Yeah, at this point, we know where I stand with the Falcons, and as long as Arthur Smith is their head coach, I will be picking against them. Give me the Saints coming off of a bye. Whoever the quarterback is, you got a week to get right, get their feet underneath themselves. If it is Jameis and if it's Derek Carr, a week to get healthy. Regardless, their offense is definitely trending in the right direction as of late. Olave getting involved, like you mentioned. So, yeah, give me the Saints.
Next game up, man, we got the Steelers-Bengals AFC North matchup. Jake Browning, man, is going to be the quarterback for the Bengals. And I kind of almost wanted to pick the Bengals just because of everything we said about the Steelers. Maybe Jake Browning comes out and, has some amazing showing.
He didn't look too bad against the Ravens.
No,
he looked okay.
Yeah, he looked like a decent option, but that Steelers defense, it just had me thinking. It's a problem with TJ Watt, who, I'm going to get into that game later. Never mind. But regardless of the fact, I got the Steelers. I think Jaylen Warren, he has to be the workhorse at this point. I mean, 9 carries, that's not good enough. If Jaylen Warren played that whole game as the lead back and, honestly, they just stopped throwing the ball and said, we're going to hand the ball off to Jaylen Warren 3 times in a row, I think the Steelers win that football game. They didn't. Matt Canada gone. Not sure who's going to be taking over the play calling. Regardless of the fact, it's got to be better. And this is a team, without Joe Burrow, what's the Bengals' identity? They're not, Joe Mixon at this point in his career. The defense isn't elite. Joe Burrow is at heart and soul of that team, and now he's gone. It's going to be a tough scene. Give me the Steelers.
Yeah, Joe Burrow pretty much just ends the season for the Bengals, I think. T. Higgins also banged up. They've had a very tough stretch of injuries as of late. So I think the Steelers, also you got to take into fact, firing the, coach or coordinator first week after, no Matt Canada. So, I think the moves and, the spirits will be a lot higher on that sidelines in terms of offensively. Maybe we see George Pickens and Deontay Johnson celebrate for once together on the sidelines. Who knows? But I think the Steelers are just there. Without Joe Burrow, I don't really see how this offense goes, especially against a solid Steelers defense. And I think Kenny Pickett can do enough, or if he can't do enough, he can do a good job of turning around and handing the ball off to Jaylen Warren. So I think the Steelers do get a win here.
Moving on, we got the Panthers playing the Titans in Tennessee. Coin toss. Give me the Titans.
Yeah, I'm with you. Really not much else to say. Two rookies going at it. Will Levis, Bryce Young. Surprised you're not picking the Panthers after the Bryce Young propaganda you've been sending me over the past couple of days.
I have. Bryce Young, I did see something.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, he has thrown the most catchable balls in the NFL while being the receivers being
I think it was dead last in separation.
Yeah, they're abysmal with it. And yeah, I mean it's tough, but that goes to show you. I mean, it's a team game. These receivers aren't getting open, no matter how much or how good Bryce Young, throws them the ball. So
if Patrick Mahomes can't do it, what do you expect from Bryce Young? But yeah, like you mentioned, coin flip game. Both teams seem to be trending in the wrong direction, but we'll give Bryce Young his second career win. I'll go to Panthers.
I'm not mad at it. It's moving on to the Bucks and the Colts I was about to say the divisional matchup. But Bucks Colts, man, in Indy. I think this one, on paper, pretty similar, not similar, evenly matched teams almost, but the Colts, the running back tandem right now, Jonathan Taylor looks like he's back to the old JT. What?
No, I just changed my pick. Yeah. Say what you're saying.
Yeah, JT's back. Gardner Minshew, I mean, it is what it is at this point. We kind of know what the Colts are. They just released Shaq Leonard. Was taking up a big cap hit, not really involved in that defense anymore after those injuries. See if someone goes to pick him up, regardless of the fact the Bucks are fighting for a playoff spot, while the Colts, they kind of know that they're diminished. Looking on to next year for Anthony Richardson, get back healthy, see what they got in AR. But I mean, this should be pretty decent, pretty tight matchup. I just think the Colts just give me the home field advantage. Even though I feel like, the Bucks could get it going in the dome with Baker. I got the Colts barely pulling it off.
Yeah, I had the Colts as well, but then I think the Buccaneers can win this game. Baker Mayfield playing some of the best football in his career. I don't know, would you say on par with, the 2021 Baker when they made the playoffs?
2020.
Or 2020, excuse me.
1920, yeah.
I know you'd remember. But I think I like what the Bucks are doing. They're able to, get the ball down the field. Mike Evans, once again, on pace to get that 1K mark. Chris Godwin, those guys, they're looking solid in the passing game. And last couple games, Shad White has, come to life. He's made a couple nice plays. So nice to add that run game, especially with Baker. You know how important that is for him. Defensively, they're solid. I just think the Colts don't have enough. And like you mentioned, they're not really playing for much at this point where the Buccaneers are more than in contention to, win that division. So I think the Bucs still have something to play for. They got to go out. They got to win this game. And I think they do get a solid win on the road.
Sorry, it was 2020, 2021 the playoffs were in when Baker was snapping. Next game up, man, the New England Patriots go on the road to play the Giants in a historic Super Bowl matchup between Eli and Tom Brady. Now we're getting the Mac Jones versus Tommy DeVito showdown.
Oh. Tank Bowl.
Yeah, it quite literally. Give me the Gabagool, man. Giants at home. Tommy DeVito. I mean, I don't even think these fan bases could care if they won.
Yeah, at this point of the season, once both fan bases want their team to lose, I stop caring. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Give me the Giants.
Next game up, man, the Jacksonville Jaguars go on the road to play the Texans. AFC South showdown, man, and there's a lot riding on this for both teams. Jags trying to, get on their way to start clinching that division title, while the Texans hanging in there. They're fighting for a playoff spot. They're playing some really good football between C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, that duo, and the whole team. I mean, Nico Collins. You got Robert Woods, 5'6" motor, Devin Singletary. They got guys. Will Anderson making some plays too. So the Texans really look like they hit on that draft big time. Regardless of the fact, I think this is going to be a really good game. Is T-Law back? Had a superb game, last week. But this is what I've been saying about the Jags probably since last year. That consistency, can we see them? Last year, they were a second-half team. Can we see them be that same second-half, end-of-season playoff push? I think this game, I know the Texans are really hot right now. All the hype's on them. I think the Jags, if they want to prove that they are AFC competitors like they were in the offseason, everyone was talking about them. This is a must-win game on the road. It is a tough matchup, but it's in Houston. I mean, indoors, not like you're playing, a crazy weather game or anything like that. Controlled climate. I think the Jags going to be a really good game, divisional matchup. You always talk about the close scores with divisional games, but I think this one's going to go down as game of the week here. Give me the Jags on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you. This could definitely be the best game of the week, with everything riding on this game. Divisional matchup, two teams that are, very much in well contention, trying to get that playoff spot. But I'm picking the Texans, man. The Jags just haven't been able to beat this Texans team no matter what. Earlier this year when we thought the Jags were looking really nice and the Texans were still a question mark, CJ Stroud's kind of, coming out game was against the Jags on the road. And now they just have more weeks under their belt. CJ Stroud's got more experience. Those guys are getting a lot more comfortable together. And that defense is, sneakily playing better. Will Anderson, like you mentioned, Derek Stingley had a nice interception last week as well on Kyler Murray. So we're seeing guys on the defense step up, make plays. And offensively, we come in here and say it every week, CJ Stroud playing elite level football. Turned the ball over more than usual last week, 3 interceptions, more than what he had coming into the game. So very uncharacteristic of him up to that point. But I think they get back on track. It has, the opportunity to be a shootout. And right now I just trust CJ Stroud with that connection with Tank Dell and Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz, I think, has been a very underrated weapon in this offense. He's kind of Stroud's safety blanket. If those big shots down the field aren't open, he's, always finding Schultz over the middle, in the flats and getting those safe completions, kind of like what he was for Dak Prescott back in Dallas. So I think that's a big help. Like you mentioned, Devin Singletary, that run game also starting to come to life as well. So this is kind of when you want to start playing your best football, and I think the Texans are definitely playing their best football right now. And the Jags, we just saw them 2 weeks ago at home get embarrassed by the 49ers. Then they get to beat up on a weaker Tennessee Titans team. Good game to get the confidence back, but right now, I just think the Texans are playing better football and are executing at a higher level. So give me the Texans, man.
Next game up, man, Cleveland Browns.
Division sweep.
That's one of the toughest things to do in the NFL.
And they might lead the division if they beat the Jags, too. I think they'd have the same record, and they have the both games over them. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot riding on it. I mean, we'll see what happens. Browns, Broncos, man. I mean, at this point, the Broncos are looking like a pretty solid team. Russell Wilson, I mean, he's third in the league in passer rating right now and whatnot. Or maybe that was just for the week. But over the past few weeks, before this week, he didn't have a game over 200 passing yards. He changed that. He threw for 2-something. He's been taking care of the football, 19 touchdowns. Did Russ beat the washed allegations? I guess that should have been a hot or not take. I asked that the other night to Big Max. And it's, kind of looking like he has. Jerry Jeudy did drop a touchdown when the Broncos were driving. And then you kind of think, man, this game's over. And then they go ahead, come down the field, score a touchdown, and Russ is kind of looking like, Pete Carroll, Seattle, Russ. Let Russ cook. When he came into Denver, I was the saying and whatnot, Broncos country. Well, after starting the season so abysmal, they've gone back on the right track. They look like a legit team. But with that being said, this Browns defense is elite. Before we even started recording, you said your quarterback was crying on the sideline. DTR getting his first career dub, especially after how bad his first career start went. For a guy that played not very well for the entire game to come out in the fourth quarter, last drive, march down the field, put your team in field goal position, Had a couple rips that he threw in. Good balls. I mean, I like what I'm seeing from DTR. Hunt and Jerome Ford. Want to see a little bit more from the run game, helping them take that pressure off. In a game where David Njoku had three drops. I mean, he dropped a touchdown. He dropped a couple easy passes. Even after the game, he said, I got to be better. It's unexcusable. FaceTime Coach Stefanski after the game. He said, before he left, he's like, I'm hitting the jugs machine. And he went home and hit the jugs machine. Hopefully, he got his hands right. We'll see. But, I mean, the Browns, give me the Browns. Shout out DeJuan Jones. That was the take I was going to have on the Steelers. He held TJ Watt to the lowest PFF rating he's had this year. And this rookie right tackle is looking like a gem for the Browns. I mean, Jack Conklin went down starting right tackle for the season. Jedrick Wills has been banged up. And this guy's held up that O-line on the right side of the ball. And he's looking like an elite right tackle as a rookie. So shout out to the big fella. They don't get much love. MG, DPOY. You already know, but yeah.
I think these are two kind of similar teams, but just on the opposite sides of the ball. Broncos, like you mentioned, Russ kind of getting back to form. They're on a 4-game win streak, moving the ball, putting up points, and then defensively for the Cleveland Browns, continuing to, just dominate teams. And you mentioned Myles Garrett and all those guys. You got them playing really, really good football. Broncos at home. I could definitely see the Browns winning this, but I kind of just picked the Broncos because I knew you were going to pick the Browns. And I could definitely see, the Broncos getting 1 or 2 plays, moving the ball a little bit. Maybe you want to see them getting their run game going more. But I think it'll be a low-scoring game. It'll be close, but why not? Give the Broncos 5 in a row. So I'm going to pick Denver at home.
Yeah, Broncos are playing some good football, man, especially with what's been going on this year. Next game up, man, Rams, Cardinals. Rams got a squeaker of a win last week. The Cardinals, after K1's return and the comeback win, they fell short of attempting to come back as well last week. I mean, this game, if has the making to be a close game. It's the NFC West, 2 division, teams. I wouldn't even know if you call this a rivalry. I'm not sure they've ever been good at the same time. Regardless of the fact, I think, K1, Matt Stafford showdown, you get to see a couple flashy big plays, maybe a deep ball from K1 or, Puka going crazy. He's questionable on Cooper Kupp's a little banged up too. I think Kyron Williams is making a return, who was a workhorse for the Rams, early on in this year. Maybe a little bit of a workload management. We'll see. I think it's going to be a close one, coin flip. Just give me the Rams on the road. I saw you took the Cardinals, and I kind of went Rams.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals here. Ever since Kyler Murray's been back past 2 weeks, he's gotten better and better. Last week against the Texans, we saw that deep ball finally hit. He hit Rondale Moore, I think, on a nice deep shot down the middle of the field. So we know Kyler Murray's a talented quarterback. So I'm going to take the Cardinals here at home. You mentioned the Rams. I think injuries is also, a big thing for them. Both of their 2-star or stud receivers are a little banged up. Cooper Kupp and Puka, questionable. I think Stafford might be a little banged up as well. Got hurt again or banged up in the last game, if I recall. But I just think at home, Cardinals, Kyler Murray just continues to get better and better, get a little bit more rapport with those guys on offense, and I think they can squeak out a win here. So I'm going to take Arizona at home against the Rams.
It's going to move us to our next matchup, man. It's going to be Chiefs-Raiders in Vegas. Raiders' little win streak, after the firing of McDaniels. Came to an end against the Dolphins. Aiden O'Connell versus Pat Mahomes in Week 12 in the NFL season. If you said that at the beginning of the year, would have asked you, who is Aiden O'Connell? Regardless of the fact, just give me the Chiefs, man. And lose a heartbreaker at home, prime time. This is a bounce-back game written all over it. The Chiefs, they got to get right here in Week 12. And, it's a decent matchup, 2 AFC West teams. But I just, not much from the Raiders other than, they're going to come out and play with some energy. But I think the Chiefs win this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun competitive game early on, but I do think the Chiefs pull away eventually. A team like the Raiders, MVS can drop as many balls as he wants. Defensively, the way the Chiefs are playing, I think they can do more than enough to secure this win. I don't think they'll have that many drops, or they might. That's the way they've been playing all year, that receiver core. But ultimately, I think Patrick Mahomes, the stakes in this game are nowhere near as high as they were against the Eagles in the big Super Bowl rematch and all this stuff. It's just, classic regular AFC West matchup who the Chiefs have always seemed to dominate with Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to take them here again. Like you mentioned, Raiders come out, they'll play hard, maybe a couple of big plays here or there, but ultimately Patrick Mahomes gets them in this one.
Next game up, Bills travel to Philly to play your Eagles, man. I'll let you go ahead and go first.
I kind of touched already on that Chiefs-Eagles game early on in the Hot or Not, so not much to say there. But in terms of this game, I think the Eagles are the better team. Now, it'll be very tough for the Bills to come in and steal a win against the Eagles at home. It's possible, but I don't think it's likely. The Bills team we've seen this season, a lot of inconsistencies. Josh Allen turning the ball over, not making the right executions. And then defensively, they've just been, hammered with injuries and haven't been the best defense when they have a quarterback that can actually move the ball, not Zach Wilson. So I think the Eagles, especially at home, able to come out of that Chiefs games with no major injuries, so seems to still be at full strength. If the defense can play like they did in the second half and, limit Josh Allen and maybe create 1 or 2 turnovers like they did against the Chiefs, if you can catch a pick on Mahomes and make Travis Kelce fumble, there's no telling what you can get from Josh Allen and co. So a couple big turnovers. Defense continues to, ride their little hot streak. And I'm going to say it now. Tough week for A.J. Brown. He gets back right. Smitty finally cracks the 100-yard mark. He's had 99, I think, 2 or 3 times this year. He's been right underneath that 100-yard mark. Smitty goes over 100. A.J. Brown has a big game. I think the Eagles pretty much, they can roll. The Bills are a good team, but it's like you mentioned, man, when they play these teams that can move the ball, you saw against the Broncos, just not able to execute down the stretch. And what do the Eagles do better than I think any team in the league in moments when it counts, even if it is a close game with the Bills, which I don't think it really will be. The Eagles find a way. They execute. They make the big plays. So I'm going to take the Eagles here at home, who I think are comfortably the better team at this moment.
I think you're right, and the Eagles are the better team here. I mean, there's no question about it. But I'm rocking with the fire, the OC, get on a little hot streak. I mean, the Raiders were able to get, 2 or 3 wins. We'll see if the, Steelers can. The Bills just got one without Dorsey. You mentioned it. The Eagles' struggles is that secondary. If Josh Allen's able to buy himself enough time, maybe hit on a couple big plays to get them a dub, I'm going with the Bills. I just think the Eagles, after such a huge win last week, I wouldn't say take the foot off the gas because they know the Bills can be a really good football team. But I think they just kind of get just a little bit lost in this game, make 1 or 2 miscues that cost, 60-yard touchdown or whatnot. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think they just get a little bit sleepy, to be honest, for the Eagles.
Shouldn't you want the Bills to lose? You're like a Dolphins fan.
No, yeah. I was literally going to say I hate the Bills, but...
Yeah, so just pick the Eagles, bro.
Nah, I mean, you picked against the Browns. We're picking against the Eagles now.
No, but I've picked the Browns multiple times throughout this season.
I've picked the Eagles plenty of times, bro.
I don't know. Well, I'll let you rock with the Bills. Who knows?
It's going to bring us... Which I also think Bills-Eagles is, one of the better matchups. Sunday Night Football, Ravens-Chargers. I mean, I almost don't even want to get into this. Give me the Ravens.
Yeah, give me the Ravens. Against Brandon Staley's defense, you know what they do. They give out great performances, so I'm calling a vintage Lamar performance. MVP Lamar. Turn the clock back to 2019. Odell... He'll turn back the clock to 2015 again against this Chargers defense. Yeah, they just give up points. They give up yards. We'll probably see another heroic Justin Herbert performance that falls just short. because of the defense and because of the people around him. Quentin Johnston did his best MVS impersonation before MVS. 2 major drop passes, 2 passes that honestly could have been touchdowns that could have won the game. Unfortunate. Chargers just, I don't know, man. Outside of Justin Herbert, what do you really like on that team? Joey Bosa goes down. Not really much else to say. Keenan Allen's been healthy. That's a plus. He usually never makes it this far. He's still doing his best, although he had a couple crucial drops last week as well. But yeah, give me the Ravens. I think they win this convincingly. Like I said, you see Justin Herbert have another great performance, but it's not enough against this Ravens team.
I will say, Johnston getting a lot of the heat, and you just touched on it. Keenan Allen, man, his drops were crucial red zone drops, and for a guy that, Keenan Allen, a vet in this league, compared to Johnston, obviously Johnston deserves, some credit in that loss. He is a rookie. He was a first-round pick. You kind of want to see him at least capitalize on one of those, especially that deep ball. Rookie growing pains, okay, but Keenan Allen, red zone, 3rd, 4th down, whatever it was, and just crucial drops that really killer for the guy that you trust the most on your team, the best player on that team outside of your quarterback. And it is tough to put the blame on Johnston, but it's the end of the game. Those are the plays that are remembered way more. Just, you mentioned Keenan Allen being healthy. It didn't help right there in those important moments, paired with Brandon Staley's horrible decision-making. It's going to lead us to Monday Night Football, Bears-Vikings. And, Bears kind of back with Justin Fields. They're looking, a little revamp. Vikings, they get their first loss in the Josh Dobbs era last week. Close game. Vikings at home. I just like this Vikings team. Ty Chandler, Alex Madison. Now seem they're on a good pace of a running back duo to where they have some production. Justin Jefferson, is he eyeing a return this week? We'll see. Receiving core, Jordan Addison. We know what he is. Defense, make a couple big plays here and there. But Josh Dobbs, really just playing the best football he can at this point. Probably finally getting this offense down to somewhat of a degree. Bears on the road. I just, outside of Justin Fields right now, running, making a couple plays. Can we see consistency early on in the season? It was his accuracy, everything like that. Can he be a passer in the league outside of a runner? They kind of let him loose, cut him loose last week, let him do his thing. I like what he did, and I think they should keep it going that way. But I'm still going to take the Vikings, man. They were on a streak, finally lost one. Maybe get a little momentum back this week.
Yeah, I almost picked the Bears here. I could see the Bears and Justin Fields, on prime time, kind of spoiling that Vikings, playoff hopes in the season. Yeah, with Josh Dobbs in there, but I like this Vikings team just a little bit more. You mentioned those weapons. Jefferson probably not going to come back because I think they do have a bye week next week, so give him an extra week of rest. But, Dobbs gets back right. Maybe they don't toss him the ball and get him concussed on another play. Maybe they just let him, play quarterback. But, I think the Vikings are just a better team than the Bears right now, so give me Minnesota.
That's going to wrap up our Week 12 pick'ems, man. It's starting to come down towards, the back third of the season, you would say. Here we are, 8 games in a hole behind you, so we'll see if anything shakes this week, man. Any last comments, takes, predictions, anything like that?
No, man, just a lot of good football, a lot of good food this weekend, hopefully.
Oh yeah, man. Good hoops too. Shout out the Heat, man. They've been on a little roll after starting 1-4.
Yeah.
Shout out to them boys, Austin Reeves, shouting out Bronny on the court. Saw that too. We'll get into hoops later in the season, obviously, as well. But that's gonna wrap up Go to Go Pod on TikTok, Go to Go, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all of that, man. And until next week, man, that's going to wrap up episode 66. Appreciate everyone tuning in, man. Peace.